everybody, welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo Chew. This is episode number 90. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-hosts Dennis Levi Leach and Jonathan Getz. Happy opening day, boys.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. And we are joined by a special guest. About 4 seasons ago, we asked him a question. It said, "Do you feel like we do?" And he answered yes. He is one of our favorite Twitter personalities. I think this is the 4th time he's been on the podcast.
You are now the only member of the 4-Timers Club. It's like an SNL thing. We're going to get you like a robe.
This is important. I want to be like your Billy Preston. You know, I want to be the 4th rock and roll guy.
That's right. You can find him at Super 70 Sports. His name is Ricky Cobb. Ricky, how the hell are you, buddy?
I'm great, Gabe. I mean, what a pleasure to be back with you guys. 4 years now. This is the sure sign that baseball is upon us. So I love it.
Absolutely. That optimism, that opening day optimism is in the air. Hell, even Marlins fans can probably, I don't know, feel a little bit. Feel okay.
They were excited about that 4-run 5th or whatever it was. Yeah.
Was there anything more appropriate, by the way, than the first pitch of the season against the Marlins being a homer?
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a second to think, well, maybe this season could exceed expectations. No.
The only thing that would have made it better is if it knocked the beer out of Derek Jeter's hands.
Like Watson was saying, this is probably the first time the guy ever got booed on opening day. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, again, Ricky is from at Super 70 Sports, which is really one of the best things going on Twitter. And also, Ricky's got a podcast as well, a Super 70 Sports podcast, has interviewed a lot of the people we grew up watching. Gosh, you've had Dale Murphy on the show, right, Ricky? Gary Templeton was on the show.
Yeah, Gary Templeton, Dave Parker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Alan Trammell has been on. I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of really great guests, not only from baseball, but from other sports and a few celebrities as well. I've got one actually that I'm editing and getting up this weekend is Barry Williams from the Brady Bunch.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I've been really psyched about that one. So it's basically 45 minutes of me being Chris Farley interviewing Paul McCartney, just saying, so remember that time you were on the Brady Bunch? That was cool.
The episode with Marsh's nose.
Yeah, it was a real kick though. He was one of the guys that I'd always wanted to have on because what's more 70s, than the Brady Bunch. Right. So yeah, it's been a blast, man. It continues to be, and I'm just super lucky, living the dream here with Super 70 Sports.
Your conversation with Rob Lowe is really fun. I recommend people check it out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a good one. He was a really fortunate one because not only was he a great get, but he actually was a really entertaining guest too.
Right.
Sometimes the big names aren't always the best episodes of the podcast, but in the case of Rob, he delivered the star factor, and then he was just really engaging and funny too. So yeah, I'm glad you liked that one. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, recommend it.
And then, and also, Ricky, I know for a while now you've been working on a book with a focus on baseball. You just want to tell us just a little about it?
Well, my wife, just tells me that at some point, you need to actually write this book and get it published. And then I counter back. I'm like, well, I'm going to be at the American Writers Museum just because you told people I was writing a book. So maybe this is the best deal, never actually deliver the book. You don't have anything to live up to. They invite you to panels.
Just get the advances. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I've found a loophole in the system here. But the book is an oral history of baseball in the 1970s. I've interviewed over the course of the last almost 3 years that I've been working on it, gathering interviews. I'm functionally done now. There'll probably be a few more interviews, but basically this spring and summer are going to be spent transcribing and then piecing it together because the story is going to be told through the words of these players that I've interviewed. And It's mostly players, but I have interviewed some various announcers and other people who had some association with the game, either through television or in some cases just high-profile fans, that kind of thing. So it's been a great pleasure to go through the interview process. It's going to be, I hope, a lot more fun, even to actually sit down and piece it together. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a challenge. And I'm hoping that by the end of this summer, it'll be ready to go to a publisher, and I'd like for it to see the light of day sometime next year, maybe ideally right around the start of baseball season, maybe a year from now, would be my goal. So keep your fingers crossed for me.
We look forward to it, man. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, tonight we're here to kind of like just really talk about the season that's upon us. I'm going to make some predictions and maybe just talk a little bit about a few of the storylines for the 2018 season. Now, Jonathan, you said you had a few items you kind of wanted to throw out there. Before we kind of get into our picks, what angles are you looking at for this?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about what I'm curious what everybody's looking forward to this year, and I definitely have a few things, and right off the top of my head, I am looking forward to hating the Yankees again. Last year. What's that, Ricky?
I said, did you stop at some point?
Last year was strange because you could kind of root for them in a way because they were still so young, and Aaron Judge is a really likable guy. And it looks like, he's going to be a pretty likable guy for the foreseeable future. But then now they've reloaded with, Giancarlo Stanton, and they're turning into the Yankees again, where they're, just bringing in all this big talent and getting overloaded with it. And so last year, the Royals weren't really competing, so I wasn't as stressed about what the hell the Yankees were doing. And don't get me wrong, I was happy that they didn't make it to the World Series. I wasn't rooting for them to go to the World Series, but it was interesting to see how they did manage to rebuild and kind of get a jump on their being competitive again. And so, but this year now, the gloves are off, and we can go ahead and hate them mercilessly. So I'm looking forward to that. And when the Yankees and the Red Sox inevitably play a 5.5 hour 9-inning game in the playoffs, that more people will get behind the pitch clock and the other new pace of play rules that are meant for a Red Sox Yankees playoff series.
Yeah. Aside from Stanton, who'd they bring in? I mean, like you mentioned all these other folks they brought in. Who else did they get in the offseason?
Well, their roster, no, it's mostly homegrown. They did bring in Neil Walker at the last minute, but he's not exactly a huge pickup. But he's a good guy. I mean, he's a good player. Otherwise, it is mostly homegrown with Gardner obviously and Gary Sanchez and Didi Gregorius but I'm mostly just put off by the whole Giancarlo Stanton pickup, and otherwise, they got Sonny Gray in the middle of the year last year, didn't they? Or...
Well, and you just know as soon as if something would happen to go bad or something, or if they start losing some games, they're the first team that'll throw money at the problem.
Oh yeah, like trading for Mike Moustakas
The problem for me is I like Giancarlo Stanton. And I realize that the least interesting thing in the world to other people is your fantasy team. But Giancarlo just threw my fantasy team on his back last year and took me to a title. So I'm a Stanton fan. He seems like a good guy. And then I'm also a really big Aaron Boone fan. I like Aaron Boone a lot, and so he's a guy that I would like to see be successful. So. I don't know. I don't know if this is me softening up in my old age or what, but I don't know. I don't find the Yankees as unlikable as I used to. But That's probably just a character flaw that I've developed.
Well, there's more likable characters on the team than there used to. Like, there's no Lemons, there's no Steinbrenner.
Yeah. I think, like Jonathan said, I think Judge is a big part of it because he's really kind of the new face of the team in a lot of respects, and he just seems like a really good guy. And
it's like they morphed to the friendly Yankees.
Yeah. They're
which is crazy.
Yankees, but they're still, super rich and will crush you.
Right.
So, they're still the Yankees, but yeah, like I say, I'm an Aaron Boone guy. I like him, and I hope that he does well.
Yeah. Well, talking about, I'll throw one in for a second. One of my kind of things kind of hanging over the season for me. It was a strange off season, as you guys know, in the sense that several big name free agents didn't get signed until really, I don't know, until we were halfway into spring training.
Right.
And so there's a lot of talk about sort of the modern era, quote unquote, of free agency sunsetting. A part of me thinks that may not be true because Bryce Harper's about to get basically $500 million next year. But also, the times have changed in the sense that you used to be a good GM if you went out and spent a bunch of money and acquired a bunch of pieces to put together a championship caliber team every year. Now, it's reversed. You're a good GM if you don't spend a lot of money. You know what I mean? You're a good GM if you take the Billy Bean approach and remain frugal. And even fan bases seem to be okay with teams sucking for a few years, more than they used to be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a White Sox fan, and it's obviously a team going through a transition right now, hopefully for the better. But, I talk to a lot of White Sox fans, and everybody's like, yeah, I'm okay with them being shitty, for a little while. And that, to me, that represents kind of an attitude shift. I don't know if you guys see that around.
I agree. I think what the Cubs and Astros have done over the course of the last several years, teams, whether or not they'll be able to execute it as well as Chicago and Houston did is up for debate. But for right now, you have GMs and front offices, I think, that can go to the fan base and say, hey, look, you see what the Cubs did. You see what the Astros did.
Kansas City, too.
Right. That's what we're trying to do right now. So, we're going to take our lumps, be patient, and we'll have something to show for it. Now, it's not going to work every time a team does that.
Yeah.
It didn't work for Kansas City for about 18 years.
Right. Right. And there's only so much that fans can take. They'll start to get itchy after you lose for, a few seasons in a row, particularly unless they're in a market where they've just had all the hope beaten out of them, like Kansas City and Pittsburgh did for a long time.
Chicago for
yeah, I mean, true. But if you're doing it in a market that has had a history of success, it's probably a little bit of a tougher sell to say like, we're going to punt half a decade and deal with it.
But if you tell, go ahead, Levi.
No, I was just going to say I liken it to I'm looking forward to once Tom Brady retires, maybe the Patriots are going to lose for the next 50 years. That'll be the trade-off. I had to live through his success, and then he'll never win again during my lifetime. I'm okay with that.
Well, careful. Now, as a Bears fan, as we were just waiting for Brett Favre to retire, and then you saw Aaron Rodgers in his first season as a starter, and you realize he's better than Brett Favre. Yeah, careful who you wish to retire. I think that
Belichick probably draft that guy in this, 5th round this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Out of UConn or something.
Right.
But I think if the management, if the ownership's up front with the fans about it, and they're like, look, parking's gonna be free, tickets are gonna be like $8. Kids are you're gonna be able to take your family to the game and only have to spend like $50 or $60, and we're gonna suck. Then that's the trade off I think people are willing to take. But if you're still going to charge $20 for parking or more, that's a very Midwestern price. And it's still going to cost $8 for nachos, then that's where the alienation really starts to set in. If you're 20 games under 500.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel terrible for the fans in Miami because, that's not a team that's ever historically drawn well anyway when they've been good. And I was actually talking to a friend today, and I said, just wait and see this year. They're going to – I don't know what the official attendance will be for some of these games, but I absolutely promise you, in my opinion, the Marlins are going to have some games this year where they have less than 1,000 fans in that ballpark.
Absolutely. There were plenty of empty seats today.
Tons.
Jeez.
Friggin' opening day of, great weather in South Florida.
And they had it all opened up. It was all looking nice. Yeah.
Then Ian Happ came up to bat.
It's an area, yeah. It's an area with, there's money down there. There's, glitz and glamour, South Beach. And they just can't do it,
Well, it's so funny that the minor leagues and spring training are so supported down there, but the home team can't get people to come.
Good point.
Yeah. The same way over in Tampa, too. Granted, that's not as glitzy of an area, but it's still, it's still a lot of transplants with money. And, they had those Madden years there where they put together 5 competitive seasons in a row, 5 90-win seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
serious.
They couldn't sell out playoff games.
Yeah, it's almost like, I hate to say it, but Florida can really only support probably one MLB team.
Go figure, because they can support 3 NFL teams and 5 legit college football teams.
Right?
They've got a couple of NHL teams, for crying out.
Yeah.
That rich history of Florida.
Baseball, not so much. I don't know what the deal is. I know Tampa wants a new stadium that's actually in, across the bay, because part of their problem is they're over, across the bay from where so much of the population is.
Right.
And they're playing in that dome, which I'm just going to say it. I went to the Trop last year for the first time. I actually liked it, but
really,
yeah. But having said that, I'm a bit of an odd duck when it comes to that kind
What'd
of
you
stuff.
like about it?
Gosh, I like the fact that it felt like I was stepping back into the 80s, which is probably the exact reason that everybody else hates it.
It's when it was designed.
Yeah, it's just like it's a retro feel in the most authentic way, which probably is a turnoff for a lot of people. But I actually I dug it. But they need an open air ballpark, at least something with a retractable roof, and then they really need to relocate and get across the bay to where it's not so out of the way for the population to get there. But Miami, I don't know what Miami's deal is. They've got this new ballpark that they wanted, and did they? I heard Jeter was going to get rid of that LSD aquarium home run machine. Is it still there?
On today's broadcast with ESPN, he talked about that. They questioned him on it.
So what did he say?
First off, he said that he's never publicly said he doesn't like it. So then they said, "Okay, do you dislike it?" And he's like, "It's unique." That's all he would say.
Yeah, he hates
the coach, man. He knows
Yeah.
I guess he technically doesn't have, even though he's ownership, he doesn't have the right to get rid of it. Is what they were saying after they interviewed him.
I think it's because it's an official art installation, and so it's up to the city.
There you go.
Yeah, because get this. The city paid for the goddamn stadium and the art installation, right? So Jeter probably doesn't have a say.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I want to check out the park. I like the fact that they went bold on the design. I was telling Jonathan and Levi this text earlier today. I don't know about you, Ricky, but I feel like the new retro that started with Camden Yards, that was cool at first, but I think it became kind of passé after that.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that the Marlins just went fuck it, let's make it look like a spaceship. Hell with
I've never been there, but on television, I think it's kind of refreshing. Apart from, I think I would get rid of the contraption, but a lot of these retro parks, it's a different sort of cookie cutter. People derided the 1970s and they said, well, Riverfront Stadium, Veterans Stadium, Busch Stadium, Three Rivers, it's all the same thing. And I don't know. A lot of these new parks, they just all kind of look alike to me. At least some of these that I see on television that I haven't been to yet. So I agree with you, Gabe. I think the Marlins did something a little bit different, and I think maybe teams should get a little more creative and put their own stamp on things rather than just having the latest, sort of bland retro themed ballpark.
Speaking of, we mentioned the NFL. The Vikings did a really cool job with their new stadium. How it looks like a Viking ship and everything. And I'm hoping that is where, this Miami and in Minnesota now, maybe that's the push now. We're going to have more modern type of architecture.
Yeah, and even the domes don't feel like that they're inside, which is what I hear about Minnesota, is that it doesn't feel like you're in a dome when you're in that new stadium.
Right. And so, Ricky, I'll give you the center field contraption art installation. We can get rid of it. I want to pull the slide out of Milwaukee. I don't want to see that bastard go down that slide one more time.
Went down it quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, when my oldest daughter was younger, she loved that. But, you know what? If that's the cost of business of getting rid of that contraption in Miami, then you can take Bernie's chateau or whatever it is, and the everything about it.
Good deal. Good deal.
So that's fine with me.
I
chalet, is that the word I was looking for? His chalet, is that technically
chalet?
At least if he's going to go down the slide, go down into a mug of beer again, like the 1970s, okay? They had to sanitize it, and now he just slides down to nothing. When he's sit into a big, fat mug of beer, at least you can get behind that part of it.
Hey, man.
To go from chalet to Shohei Ohtani is another thing I'm looking forward to this year. I think he had a hit today. Now, what I'm looking for. So, for our listeners who aren't aware, Shohei Ohtani is the Japanese import prospect who's like 24, and he's going to be a starting pitcher for the Angels as well as a regular hitter, DH. And I'm looking forward to him establishing a new 15-15 club, getting 15 wins and hitting 15 home runs.
Nice.
I looked it up. In 1918, Babe Ruth led the league with 11 home runs, dead ball era, of course, while going 13-7 on the mound. So Babe Ruth had basically established the 11-11 club. Ohtani can establish the 15-15 club and surpass Babe within reason.
I could see it.
What's that?
Did he hit any homers in spring training?
Oh, no, he was awful in spring training.
Yeah.
He had a bad spring training. I think he was like 3 for 28.
Yeah.
Or something like that. He gave up like 9 runs in 2 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
The best thing about spring training for Ohtani is that it's over. So he got a fresh start today. I guess he went 1 for 3 or something like that. So I think it's a great story. So I'm rooting for the story, and if he were able to have a good year at both the plate and pitching, I think it's great for baseball. So, I'm a fan of the kid, and I would like to see Ohtani, do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be interesting what happens when he starts. So he's going to be batting just in the in the order, probably not necessarily ninth, and then when he's taken out, it's going to be like a bunch of double switches, and Scioscia's going to have to manage like a National League manager, right?
Yeah, from a managerial perspective, it's going to present some challenges, good ones.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm not sure if he's going to bat on the days that he pitches.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it's possible that they may just DH someone else, and then I know that they've got a plan to DH him 2 or 3 times a week otherwise. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But I want to, for some reason, I have this feeling that he's not, at least initially, they're not going to have him, effectively be his own DH.
And that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Well, especially in this era where, he's probably only going to be going 5 or 6 innings most of the time. You do kind of leave yourself with a hell of a problem at that point, especially as big as these pitching staffs are. Teams don't tend to have a lot of bats on the bench, to deal with that sort of thing. Particularly American League teams, they don't really need to. So, I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch whatever they decide to do with him.
Yep.
Before we get into our predictions, sir, I'll ask you guys one question. We'll go around the horn with it because it's a quick one. Is there a better chance of the Cubs winning the World Series this year or the White Sox finishing 500?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
I'll start, and I'll say Cubs winning the World Series.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say the Cubs winning the World Series is a better bet than the White Sox finishing 500 also. But it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I guess if I'm putting money on it in Vegas, I'd probably go Cubs.
Yeah.
But part of me says don't put it past them, man. I think the White Sox could be over 500.
Hey,
part of me thinks it could happen.
I'll take it happening earlier than expected. Yeah,
I'm not saying you're making it in the playoffs, but yeah, I think you guys could definitely be over 500. A few games go your way, some of the rookies show up, you know what I mean, and show out. It could happen.
You play a lot of games against Detroit and Kansas City. No offense, Jonathan, but you're playing a lot of games against those two teams, and they're not world beaters. So, yeah, it's certainly not out of the question that it could happen. It's within the realm of possibility, anyway.
Yeah. Well, any other kind of storylines, guys? You guys wanted to tackle before we get into our predictions? Anything else?
Ronald Acuna. Looking forward to seeing Ronald Acuna play. What was that, Gabe?
Yeah. No, from Atlanta, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. From Atlanta. He in the spring training, his slash line was 432, 529, 727.
Wow.
So he's going to be raking. He's going to be a star.
Wow. I knew he was highly touted, but I didn't follow his spring stats.
Yeah, and he's getting treated like Chris Bryant did a couple years ago. They sent him down so that they could have an extra year
on him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he already supposedly already turned down a $30 million contract, like a 5-year, $30 million contract, though he kind of denies it.
Well, that's the trend, lock him up early,
Yeah. And I think the Players Association might be getting in their ear about that now, saying, hey, maybe don't do that. We got to get some leverage here.
Who's this kid that got signed the other day that hasn't had a big league at bat yet or played in a big league game? You guys know what I'm talking about?
From Philly?
Philly, right?
Yeah, Scott Kingery.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's obviously, the Players Association will certainly push back on, but it's an interesting trend. It kind of started a few years ago with Longoria. I don't know if you remember, he got a fairly small deal for the type of numbers, second year into his career, I think.
It's always interesting when players do that. I guess they say that, some players bet on themselves, and the idea is I'll make the league minimum for, the first few years, and then I'll go to arbitration, and eventually I'll cash in huge. But, I certainly get where Kingery's coming from. This is a kid that split last year between AA and AAA, and I think he got like $26 million guaranteed, and he's got options. That locked him up for 6 years, and then he's got 3 more option years after that that could pay him. I think the deal could pay him like close to $70 million if it winds up all the options being exercised. So that's pretty great security when otherwise you're looking at making the major league minimum, which would be good money for for me. I'd be happy to do it, but if you're playing with all these other guys that are making millions of dollars, it certainly would be nice to kind of take care of yourself for life before you have your first major league at bat. So I think that if I were in his position, it would probably be pretty tempting to take one of those deals and just kind of guarantee yourself some kind of long-term future for your family.
Yeah, and we could just put it out there now to the Players Association. The four of us are available. If you need a warm body on the bench, and that's pretty much it, and you'd like to pay us like $100,000, I can eat sunflower seeds all day.
Yeah, we're all great in the clubhouse. We're guys.
Heads, if you're listening, all right.
Lots of intangibles here with all of us.
Nice.
We're all scrappy.
Let's see a little bit about how this thing shakes out in the later months, particularly October. We've been tasked with coming up with the ALCS and the NLCS and the World Series champs. Before I get into that, though, I'm not gonna. We're not gonna do the wild cards, but to me, that was like kind of. I thought about that for a little while because my picks are kind of unsexy and kind of bland. The only thing interesting, really, to me, was kind of like deciding who would be National League wild card. Can I just talk about that for just a second?
Yeah, can you speak up, though? You're really cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, lean forward.
Yeah, lean forward. All right, lean forward. So I got a hamster on the treadmill powering everything here tonight. But anyway, it was interesting to me because, like, in the American League, I think it's fairly cut and dry, and things have changed. The National League right now is, I think, much better than the American League. Yankees aside, I thought it was. I had a hard time with the National League wild card because I thought it could have been Milwaukee, the Rockies. I think the Giants are kind of a long shot. They spent a lot of money, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to pay off. There's also Philadelphia could be ready a little bit earlier than people expected. But yeah, that was Arizona as well. There were like 6 or 7 teams that are capable of the wild card slot in the National League. So before we get into our predictions, I'll throw that out as another story that the National League, I think, is more exciting right now.
For sure, yeah, I agree.
So,
but it still has its dominant teams.
Yeah. It does.
I read somewhere the other day or heard somewhere that there were, I think, 18 teams had losing records last year. So there really is a divide. I mean, there's a pretty clear front runner in every division, I would argue, other than the American League East, maybe, where you could say Boston and New York are both pretty strong, but otherwise, it's pretty clear cut who the best team in those divisions are, and there are some bad teams. There are some bad teams out there as well. So yeah, I think that's a good point, Gabe. There are some interesting options for that National League wild card, and I was thinking about that as well because I thought maybe we were going to discuss wild card, and I was looking at it, and you could make a case for most teams in the National League that if everything broke right, they could possibly win 85 games. There are a few teams that
probably
you couldn't argue that for. I mean, obviously Miami, you'd really be stretching it. San Diego probably stretching it, but there are some good teams, and I don't know. I even think Atlanta is potentially a little bit frisky, particularly if this kid comes up and has a Rookie of the Year type season. Freddie Freeman is a great hitter, and I don't know. Atlanta even is a team that
Dansby Swanson.
Yeah,
they could be interesting.
Farm system's loaded too, so if it's not this year,
yeah.
Yeah,
certainly in 2 or 3 years they're going to be. I mean, they've got so much. I've never seen a team that has so much pitching. It's incredible. Even if you just like forgot about their prospect hitters and just looked at their pitchers, it's just, my gosh, they're going to put together a homegrown rotation that's going to be really, really good.
Steve Avery's making a comeback. Ken Merker.
Oh, good stuff. Well, let's jump in then to the ALCS. We'll start there, and I think each of us can just say who we've got, in the ALCS and who wins that. So, Ricky, you're our guest, man. Why don't you start? Who do you see in the ALCS?
Well, again, there are so many good teams, and when you get into the playoffs, who knows what's going to happen in that first round? Best out of 5. It's hard to say, but I will go in the ALCS with Cleveland and Houston. You want me to pick? You want me to give you the winner now, or just the matchup?
You do the winner.
On the winner, and then
Hold off. Okay.
Hold up on the winner. All right. Well, I'm going to go with Cleveland against Houston. I think that's a terrific matchup, and certainly Boston and New York. If anybody wants to pick those teams in there, I get it. But I like Houston to get back in a position to defend their title from last year, and of course Cleveland is just a year removed now from almost winning the World Series. So I think that would be a pretty epic ALCS.
Mm-hmm. Cleveland didn't really add anybody in the offseason, right? Or did they? They get anybody?
They lost Santana. It's the first thing that comes to mind.
They got Edwin Encarnacion last year.
Last year, though. Yeah.
Yeah, Yonder Alonso.
They picked up Yonder Alonso to replace.
Did they have a pitcher that just got hurt?
I think Danny Salazar is opening the year on the disabled list, I believe. But no, I don't think, off the top of my head at least, I can't think of any major acquisition that they had during the offseason. I mean, I think Santana for Alonso is probably about a wash. So, I think they're more or less the same team that they were last year, but that's plenty good,
Yeah. Still got probably, best pitcher in the American League, most likely. So,
wow, take that, Chris Sale.
Bait that, but.
Well, I'll go next. It's I think it's tough, the AL East. I threw my hat into the Yankees ring there, and I got Yankees and Astros. I think the Astros are obviously the safest pick, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you?
So repeat of last year, right? That was last year's ALCS, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got the same thing. I know it's boring as fuck, but I got the same thing. Yeah, I got over the Astros. I want to like the Twins. I mean, they're in the White Sox division, so I can't like them too much. But I was kind of buying into what they were doing last year, and I think they'll be competitive again. If I had to pick a wild card, I would slot them in for one of them, the second one probably. But they're not better than the Astros or the Yankees. That's why I just couldn't see Minnesota going the distance. But I like what they're doing. They're definitely ahead of schedule.
And I have Cleveland and New York, the Yankees, yeah, in the ALCS.
Not the Astros, though.
No, the Astros are still hung over.
They slip out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't see a repeat. All right.
There hasn't been one since, 98, 99.
Yeah.
Yankees.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we'll do the NLCS, and then we can do the World Series matchups after that. NLCS are a little more intriguing, I think. I'll start off here. I've got a repeat though, but I've got the Cubs and the Dodgers again.
That's me too. Yeah.
I wrestled with it because I like what Colorado's done. Although I think they still probably need more pitching You know, they got John Gray for 8. And the Rockies, you know, they've never really had, and in their whole history, obviously the altitude has a lot to do with it. They never really had an ace. You know, David Need basically was the closest they've had to an ace.
Ubaldo Jimenez had like a couple of good years. That's about as close as I can. Pedro Estacio was okay for like a year or two, but that's a rough place to pitch, man.
Oh, yeah.
Humidor or not, that's a tough gig.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like the San Diego for pitching. You know, big name pitchers don't want to go to Colorado. Big name hitters don't want to go to San Diego. Even though they're both lovely cities, you know, it's not somewhere they want to go. So that's kind of the question mark for me. I mean, I love the Rockies lineup. You know, I mean, LeMahieu and Arenado and Blackmon. They got 2 potential. You know, Arenado and Blackmon could be 1 and 2 MVPs, quite frankly. But I don't know unless they can trade for a starter. Maybe I just don't see it happening there. Arizona looks okay, you know, too. I mean, I don't necessarily know if they've improved, but they're still competitive. And then, you know, the Brew Crew, I think that's probably the sexy pick for a lot of people. That's kind of the trendy one. I think that's the team that people are kind of falling in love with before the season starts. And I don't know. I mean, they're really good. None of those teams that I just mentioned are just have anything that could compare with the Cubs or the Dodgers, in my opinion. So it's not that exciting, but that's who I got.
Yeah.
I have Los Angeles and Washington in the NLCS.
The Nats, huh? They always. I pick them I pick them. I think twice to win the World Series within our predictions, and I've abandoned them.
They've let you down too many times.
I think finally, yes, Strasburg is going to go 37-0 with a 1.2 ERA. No,
they got worth off the team, right?
right. No, I mean, I think that starting pitching is competitive, and Bryce Harper have MVP type year, and Adam Eaton, Trey Turner getting it done.
You guys have to forgive me. My cold is catching up with me here. But I listen. I'm the Nationals. I'm all in on the Nationals this year. So, Bryce Harper is due, I think, to have another crazy good season. Scherzer's awesome. I think Strasburg Strasburg's going to have a huge year. So I'm in. I'm a buyer on the Nationals. So I've got Nationals and Dodgers myself also in the NLCS.
One thing I noticed now that we've made our championship series picks, 2 teams that spent a lot this offseason that none of us, unless we picked them as wild cards, and I didn't, but maybe you guys give them some consideration. The Giants and the Angels are kind of 2 teams that sort of are trying to win the old way, which is basically opening up the checkbook and signing high-priced veterans and seeing if it works for a year or 2. I don't see it. I don't see it panning out for either one of those teams, which will a lot of noise in the offseason.
The Angels, I'm not an Angels fan, so what do I care? Right. But it kind of it bugs me a little bit that in some ways I feel like they're kind of wasting Mike Trout's prime. You got this guy who is clearly the best player in baseball. He's historically great. By the time that he's done, realistically, he may be considered one of the 3, 4, 5 best players to ever play the game if you look at his WAR numbers. And they're insisting on playing Albert Pujols, who, God love him, Albert Pujols is one of my favorite players. He was in his day. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. Was a tremendous hitter, but I mean, he is just a bag of suck now. And, he can't run, he can't hit. I think he had a negative WAR last year. I think he was the worst player in baseball by WAR, and they've got him right there in the middle of the lineup, going 0 for 4 every night. Hitting weak ground balls to short all season.
Because how much is he getting paid still? Like
$25-30 million.
Yeah.
And they're on the hook for him through, I think, his age 42 season. So they've got still another $80-100 million or something invested in him. It's ridiculous. And I mean, he's done. It's got to be hard to play with a giant fork sticking out of your back, and he's just terrible now. And God bless him, because he's a historically great player, and I loved watching him in his prime, but he's killing them. And it's not his fault. Sometimes I think you just have to realize that, you know what, we spent the money. The money's not coming back. We need to get somebody else in the middle of the lineup that can play.
Yeah.
Because Albert can't play anymore, and I think it's dragging that team down. He's going to cost them, as opposed to what a normal cleanup hitter or, number 5 hitter would give you. They're probably losing 5 games this year just by running Albert Pujols out there every day. So, I think that I picked them as my second wild card.
I had them as one of mine as well.
Yeah, but they should be better than that in my opinion. And Albert Pujols could be the difference between them making the playoffs or not. He really could. I hate to come out so negative on somebody who seems like a good person and has been a tremendous player, but he's just got nothing left.
Right.
And it's brutal to watch. He looks like he's in pain. Next time you watch an Angels game and, God forbid Pujols hits a double or something, watch that guy try to leg it out, man. He looks like every step he takes, it hurts him. I don't know if his wheels are bad or what the deal is, but it's hard to watch somebody who was once so good, so not good now.
Yeah, it's like Jordan on the Wizards, right?
Yeah, it really is. Or Willie Mays in the 1973 World Series. It's just sad. It's just a reminder that no matter how good you are, Father Time remains undefeated.
Right. Yeah. They spend. It's just an organization to me that spends a lot of money with getting very little return. Like they signed Justin Upton, I think, to a big deal, which he's at times great, but inconsistent. They got.
But they didn't have to pay anything for Ohtani, so they made a splash with Ohtani, but they didn't have to pay him anything.
That was a good move. I mean, but
they had to pay his team, but
good point.
They got lucky. Yeah, but they got lucky, with the fact that they got him for a bargain, really, and they need him to be good. I mean, you're talking about the 15-15 club, and if he can establish the 15-15 club, then that obviously that'd be everything for that team. If he does that, and Trout stays healthy, I can't see them missing the playoffs at that point.
Rotation is kind of, the pitching, I don't think could take them deep into the playoffs unless they're able to get somebody else in the offseason. And I think the same thing I mentioned the Giants as well. I mean, the Giants basically got a lot of 2013 All-Stars, really, basically this offseason. Like McCutcheon and Longoria. They might have got somebody else as well. And now Bumgarner's hurt. He's going to miss, at least 2 months, 3 months, right? Something like that.
Yeah, they're saying 8 weeks. So that sucks. He got hurt last year, obviously, with his dirt bike accident or whatever that situation was, and they never really had him. The plan to go out and get the 2013 All-Star team is, it's not going to work if Bumgarner's only going to be able to make 15 or 18 starts. So right away you start to call into question the wisdom of trying to hold it together with duct tape.
Yeah. All right, well let's go into the World Series picks then, right? Let's what do we got here? So I heard from a couple of you it won't be the Cubs, right? Ricky, you've you had what? You had the Dodgers and the Nationals in the NLCS?
I've got the Dodgers and the Nats in the NLCS. So, and it's no disrespect to the Cubs. At a certain point, when you look at the National League, you look at the American League. There's going to be a powerhouse team that at least one powerhouse team, if not a couple, that don't make it to the league championship series. So, the Cubs just are the team that I, left out of the party, but. If we're looking at it realistically, they probably have at least an equal chance to get to the NLCS as the teams that I picked. But, my crystal ball was saying Los Angeles and Washington. So that's what I went with.
And so who wins that?
I'm going to take the Nationals.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Nationals, to go to the World Series. They've got a lot of talent. They haven't been there yet. They've been knocking at the door a few times, and so I think on the strength of Bryce Harper and a lot of the other talent that they have in their everyday lineup, and especially the top of their rotation, I'm going to say that maybe Scherzer and Strasburg could be a 1-2 punch that could really cause a lot of problems for other teams, particularly in the playoffs.
Yeah, those are two guys I'd want in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah, the new Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling 1-2 punch. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a pretty good comp, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So who does that put you then against? Who do you got them facing then?
I debated that one a lot. At first I thought Houston. And I. Just speaking for myself, my history of prognostications here is not real good. So, sometimes I get hung up on last year's teams a little bit too much, and I predict success for them again the next year. And that's kind of plagued me. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll go with Cleveland. But Houston is just so good that ultimately I'm going to pick the Astros to go back to the World Series and again and have a chance to defend their title against Washington.
Okay.
And who you got?
Who do I have? Well, I'm going to go with the Washington Nationals to win the World Series this year. I'll take Washington over Houston. Let's say in 7 games to claim the first world championship for the Washington Nationals.
Nice.
Levi, what about you, man? What's going on?
So in NL I had the Cubs and the Dodgers, and I'm a homer, so I think the Cubs are going to make it back to the World Series.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees and the Astros is a tough call. I chose the Yankees, and I possibly think the Yankees could beat the Cubs in the World Series. I'm kind of like 51% Cubs, like 49% Yankees. I think if the World Series comes to the Cubs and Yankees, it could be really close. I think it could go almost either way.
Yeah, I don't think the Cubs this year will have a pitcher as good as who pitched for the Yankees, say Severino. I mean, that guy's gonna be really good. I mean, he's my Cy Young pick if I had to pick somebody this year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at the Yankees rotation 1 to 5.
I mean, the Cubs did lose Arrieta, but we picked up Yu Darvish. So part of me thinks that the rotation for the Cubs isn't gonna.
That's an upgrade.
It's not gonna drop.
Oh no.
So it's a tough call, especially the Yankees they still have Tanaka, right? Is he still on there?
Yeah. So did you pick the Yankees over the Cubs, Levi? Yeah, I think you kind of glossed over that there.
Dude, I part of me thinks it could happen. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that. This is me saying that and then saying I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, I think if it comes down to a World Series, I think it could be Yankees in 7. Yankees Cubs, Yankees in 7.
All right. Well, I've got the same World Series matchup as Levi. I've got the Yankees and the Cubs. But I'll say this: I think this is your second title, guys.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I hate to just say it like that and all, but yeah, this is a team kind of sort of in its golden era right now. Still, last year, I don't know, they just kind of shrugged it off. Like whatever. The Dodgers beat them. Dodgers were tough. Played harder at least. But yeah, I like what you did with the bullpen. I like that move. As Jonathan mentioned, I would say Darvish is better than Arrieta. I would say. I mean, obviously Arrieta had that unprecedented.
Yeah, I think the upside with Darvish is
the
higher,
next 2 years of Darvish will be better than the next 2 years of Arrieta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he's definitely an upgrade. So I mean, I like the top of your rotation quite a bit. Like I said, I like what you did with the bullpen. Schwarber, they cut him in half, basically. I mean, hell, he got lost 30 pounds.
There's 2 Schwarbers now.
He was so he must not be used to his new body. He was so fast that he overran a ball in the outfield.
I don't trust him. I don't trust skinny Schwarber.
Guys, you think you're a hot dog, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the thing you got to understand is as a fat guy, I like to have a few fat guys out there in baseball.
In the league, right?
Yeah, I feel like he left the fraternity. I don't like this in shape Schwarber.
Yeah, hanging out with Brian Rizzo, working out and shit.
Yeah, I mean, give the do something to inspire us fat guys. So. I'm disappointed. I got to be honest with you. He's and I'll tell you, if he doesn't get off to a good start, there's going to be some people, saying, "Oh, he got into too good a shape or whatever." But hopefully he has a big year. Even if he is, all svelte, and I'm jealous now.
Well, I mean,
circle to stock up on some calories.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could send him an Italian beef per week, just keep sending him Italian beef sandwiches.
Hey, listen, if he gets off to a bad start again this year, believe me, people probably will. Although he struggled last year, when he was not in such great shape, but I gotta hope that he has a big year. And speaking about the Cubs, also, I think Tyler Chatwood was a really good signing. I think he's kind of I don't know, a little bit of a diamond in the rough because his stats from pitching in Colorado were somewhat inflated. But his road ERA, I guess, over the last couple of seasons, he had one of the top 10 road ERAs in baseball. So,
as in not Colorado.
Yeah, he could be a really sneaky, solid signing that they made. So, and of course, their hitting lineup is, again, Madden's going to have to juggle guys around a little bit to make sure that everybody gets enough at bats. But yeah, I mean, I like your line of thinking, Gabe. I hope that you're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you're all wrong because what I have foreseen will come to pass. Cleveland will sweep the Yankees oh so sweetly in the ALCS. You see, I threw the Yankees a bone by getting them to the ALCS, but they will get swept by the Cleveland Spiders. And then in the NLCS, Los Angeles over the Nats in 6. Ultimately, in the World Series, the Dodgers regain their prominence after 30. This will be 30 years over the Cleveland Spiders in 5 games. It won't be that great of a series because for some reason Kluber and Bauer will run out of gas, and Clayton Kershaw will get all 4 wins for the Dodgers in the World Series. So Dodgers over Cleveland in 5 in the World
Grows
Series.
a third bionic arm as well. Yes.
And even though they've had other good people cycle in and out of that rotation, I'm always at a loss, like who else pitches for them other than him.
Yeah, it's tough.
Right, yeah. I mean, you have Alex Wood and Kenta Maeda and Rich Hill and Hyun-Jun Ryu round out the rotation. Ryu and Maeda's health has been on and off. Rich Hill's, the renaissance that is Rich Hill.
Yeah, forgot about him.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. Yeah.
So we've got.
Everybody says to look out for this kid, Walker Buehler. I keep hearing all these great things about him, and that at some point he could make an impact in their rotation. Because one thing about the Dodgers is, they always have a lot of injuries in their rotation. It seems.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Hill will give you like 125 really good innings, but he's going to miss some starts. And none of those other guys are known for their durability either. So I would say Buehler is a guy to look out for, and he could be a dark horse rookie of the year type guy also.
Yeah, good tip.
That's like 4 different teams, right? 4 different winners among all of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Dodgers, Nats, Yanks, and Cubs.
I like how that shows up, guys. Good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important things for the Cubs is Ricky mentioned earlier, Billy Preston. The Cubs got to get back to where they once belonged. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I think I'm talking about their bats. Because last year it seemed like in key situations they could not get hits. And that was not the case the year they won the World Series, obviously. So I think that should be the song in the Cubs clubhouse this year.
Get back.
Theo would be open to that.
Well, talking about the 70s for a second, Jonathan had an idea here that he wanted to toss around for a minute. I'll let you take it, man.
Sure.
You can.
So I'm assuming back in the 70s, they didn't have at-bat music. Like, players couldn't choose their own at-bat music. Maybe something kind of generic was played on the organ. Ricky, you might be able to speak to this. I'm assuming that there wasn't necessarily a PA system playing a pop song.
Apparently it happens sometimes. It's funny. I don't remember it, but I was actually having a conversation about this with Ellis Valentine a couple of years ago. We were at a Texas Rangers game, and we were talking about walk-up music. And Ellis made the All-Star team in '77. I think he came up in '76, and so played through the early '80s. And I actually commented to him. I said, if you had played in the walk-up music era, what song would you have used? And he said, I had a song.
Really?
And and his song was Music Box Dancer. Do you remember that song from the 70s? Look it up if you don't remember it. It seems like it's antithetical to what a walk-up song would be. Yeah, but I was surprised. But yeah, he told me that he had walk-up music that he used. So I do not remember it from my own childhood, but at least it must have been used at least on a limited basis. Or maybe Montreal was just cool. And they did.
There's a guy spinning records at a booth.
Speaks French,
Yeah, oui.
They had that Olympic sound system in there, so yeah.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
Yeah.
At least a little bit, I guess. Like today.
Yeah.
Like a person like in Palmer and walk-up songs, things that like are really antithetical. But like
right.
Walk-up,
Yeah, and like who would have been hip enough? I was thinking, Willie Stargell, obviously Willie and the Hand Drive. You from specifically Eric Clapton's 461 Ocean Boulevard.
Okay.
One of the better ones I thought of was Steve Garvey's Werewolves of London because his hair was perfect.
Always, yeah.
Reggie Jackson, Sultans of Swing, Catfish Hunter, Year of the Cat. That's for his Walk to the Mound music for Catfish Hunter. Ken Griffey Sr. in a very soothsayer sort of way plays Teach Your Children by CSNY for his at-bat music, foretelling the coming of Ken Griffey Jr. And then finally, for the entire Cincinnati Reds, just like every batter, Pink Floyd's "Welcome to the Machine."
Just beat it into them.
So Ricky, I've got a few songs for you that if you could, I couldn't quite pin a player to them, but you could probably do better. Talking Heads' "Psycho Killer."
Oh my God, Talking Heads' "Psycho Killer." That's got to be maybe Al Hrabosky coming out of the.
Nice.
That Hungarian, he was scary anyway.
That's good.
So
that
would
good.
have been intimidating.
Neil Young's "Like a Hurricane."
Oh my gosh, Like a Hurricane. I'm imagining, who? Let's see, somebody coming out of the bullpen. Maybe you get like a Goose Gossage coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah. A side armor. Any side armors?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. Like, who were the great side armors of that time? I mean, Kent DeColby had that great, submarine style delivery. It was pretty good. Maybe Yellow Submarine probably should have been his.
He
song.
needed a goofier song like Yellow Submarine, I think.
Yeah, they were wearing those canary yellow jerseys anyway. So.
Goofy looking dude. What about Aerosmith's "Back in the Saddle"?
Oh my gosh, Back in the Saddle. God, who do I like for that? I don't know, man. Gabe, what do you think? I mean,
Back in the Saddle. I'm kind of at a loss. I'm like, is there anybody with like an equestrian type name?
Maybe it should be a Red Sox player. Somebody from Boston.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Fred Lynn or.
Yeah, maybe a Fred Lynn. I could see that working for. I could see that working for a Fred Lynn or maybe Carlton Fisk.
I'll take Fisk.
Okay, yeah, Fisk. Fisk would be good. Yeah. Okay, last one. Bruce Springsteen's "It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City." I was trying to think of a good New York player who was a ne'er-do-well.
Oh gosh, probably Joe Pepitone. To be honest, but thinking of like the late '70s Yankees, kind of the Billy Martin, Steinbrenner era Yankees. Gosh, who would that apply to? I mean, geez.
Actually, maybe just Billy Martin.
Maybe just Billy Martin. Honestly, can we play
for mound visits? That could be a song.
Music for mound visits, because I think that's an untapped
I like it.
Ability. That says Billy Martin to me.
Steinbrenner plays it passive aggressively. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll throw one out. Like, what would Doc Ellis's song be then?
Oh my gosh!
It's something psychedelic.
Other than "Lucy in the Sky," right?
I was gonna say yeah.
Maybe like, maybe get some like Jefferson Airplane going.
13 floor elevators
or something would be pretty good for Doc.
Nice.
It's tough. Nice.
All right. Well, thanks for humoring me with that segment.
Yeah. You had some good too, Jonathan. Because I wasn't quite sure of the angle, when he told me about it, and I was like, oh wow, that works perfectly. All right.
Yeah, let's have a little fun.
Yeah. Let me see here. Can I open this pack, guys?
Yeah.
And then, well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about before I do that. Rick, the 70s. He said 74, and then Levi, you want to talk about the this 2018?
Yeah, I can do that real quick now if you want.
Well, first, we're gonna have Ricky talk about 1974 tops, right?
Okay. Yeah. Sweet.
God, I mean, listen, all the 1970s Topps designs are special to me in one way or another. I have every Topps set from the 70s, from 73 forward. 70, 71, 72, they're a little pricey. But I love 74. 74 is not like necessarily maybe the one that would jump out to people. That's probably 75.
74 is the year with the dual flags, right?
Correct. Okay. Correct. It's the dual flags. The photography's pretty good. There's some good action shots in that set. I always liked they had, you know how some sets back in those days, they had the facsimile autograph on the front.
Yeah.
70, I think 71 and 77 are the only two sets from the 70s that had that. But 74 had the facsimile signature on the back of the card, and it also had a cartoon. And I'm always always about the cartoon. If I'm on the fence about two sets, I'll give the edge to the one that had a cartoon on the back. So the 74 set had a cartoon, and unless I'm going crazy here, I need to get like a 74 card out and take a look at it, make sure I'm not talking bullshit here. But I think that they have a cartoon on the back as well as a facsimile signature.
They do. You're right. Yeah, I'm looking at the back of looking at Frank Duffy, the back of his card right now.
Yeah, there you go. So I just think it's a really neat set. It's nice, clean looking set, and so it always has appealed to me. I also have a little bit of a soft spot for 1978 and 1979 because those were the first 2 years that I collected cards. And so both of those sets, have tremendous nostalgic value for me because I was 6 years old in 78, I was 7 years old in 79, and baseball cards were new and awesome, and I would spend hours, just like going through the piles of cards and looking at the backs of cards and seeing what guys hit in 1971 in the minor leagues and all that good stuff, memorizing that stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, so, but there's not a bad set. I don't think in the entire 1970s from Topps, you could make an argument probably for any of them as being your favorite, and I probably wouldn't argue, with somebody's opinion on that.
Yeah, a couple of notes on the 74 set. As a kid, I always remember it was the set. Ron Santo was on the White Sox, and Fergie Jenkins got traded to the Rangers. And that was the year, 74 is the year on the traded cards. It's like it's bright yellow with red letters, and it's like traded, like a quarter of the picture is that.
You're just branded, just like a dollar or something, you're scandalous. I'll tell you another thing that I like about the 1974 set is how Topps jumped the gun. The Padres came very, very close to moving to Washington for the 1974 season. I mean, they came very close. And Ray Kroc, McDonald's, came in at the 11th hour and bought the team. And, they didn't go, but they were very close. They had the uniforms designed and everything. And I've tweeted it out a couple of times on Super 70 Sports. Well, anyway, Topps, some of the early printings that they made, they called the Padres Washington National League.
No kidding. Wow.
The Willie McCovey card.
Exactly.
Whoa.
And in fact, there are, I want to say there's somewhere around maybe 15 or something like that, 15 different players that have a Washington National League variation.
Yeah, the Willie McCovey card, he's got an SD hat.
Yep.
And the logos on the card are brown, and they just say Washington National League.
They sure do.
Wow.
And those are fun cards. I think I have the complete Washington National League error set, but I remember when I was a kid seeing some of those, and when you're 7, 8 years old, and whenever you came across like older cards, that was awesome. Somebody had an older brother or something, and so they had this stack of cards from, when you're 10 years old, 5 years ago is like half your life. So well, these 1974 cards, it's like
they're ancient.
They're ancient, exactly. And so I'd seen a couple of those when I was a kid, and you're just like, what's going on? What does this mean? And so maybe that was part of my fascination with it, but I love that set. I love all the Topps sets.
Great looking George Brett card that year too.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous set. It's back in the days when obviously Topps was still doing the 4-headed monster rookie cards. In those days. So there's some cool cards like that in the set, and Dave Winfield's rookie card is from that year. That's a neat looking card. So yeah, 74 is kind of my favorite among equals, I guess.
Right on.
But I'm dying to know what Gabe's got in that pack there.
I'm going to make you wait just another minute, buddy.
I'm telling you, man. Listen, Levi, I want to hear what you got to say, but I'm admiring Gabe's patience because I would have cracked into that. I'm like Mr. Al with the Tootsie Roll Pop, man.
Well, here, I'll do first. What I'll do first is at the beginning of the year, Topps releases the Topps Series 1, and then they also release the Topps Heritage. And I don't know, I guess if it's Series 1 Heritage as well. This year, the Heritage set is based upon the 1969 Topps. So here is Quintana.
Jose.
Good looking card.
Yeah, they do. They look really nice. The pictures on these cards, they do a really good job of always having nice, real big blue skies in the background. That's German Marquez.
It's a big spring training blue skies, right?
Yeah. I love this card, the Eric Sogard. He's even got like the 1969 glasses.
That's my mom's favorite player. Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know if they made him put those on. They're like, here, wear these. It's 1969. Do you remember these cards? Back in the day, they obviously don't have the contract with them anymore, but do you remember they would have the Sporting News inserts? It was like one of the first insert cards. This is kind of based off of that as well.
Oh, cool.
Good move.
Yeah, Corey Seager. And then the other insert I got, I guess this is how the rookies are in Heritage, based on the 69 design, where you just get the two.
Nice.
And this is one of the inserts in the set this year. They're like old 1950s style photos.
Whoa,
this is
cool.
Salvador Perez.
Oh, that's like
That's awesome.
the decal edge.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful. Beautiful.
69. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Cool.
I don't, again, I don't want to be like the turd in the punch bowl here, but I'm going to tell you my problem with Heritage. And I'm going to say right off the bat, this is like Albert Pujols again. I'm going to go on a rant, okay? Those cards are beautiful, and I personally find them more aesthetically pleasing than, the 2018 design. The problem that I have is, last year, of course, as Levi was saying, it's a 1969 design. Last year was 1968. Next year we'll be cracking into the 70s with the design, which is going to be neat. But the problem is they single print so many of the star players. Because last year I decided that I was going to collect the Heritage set. So I bought like a bunch. Like I probably got like 400 or 500 that I just ripped out of packs. And I realized when I'm like 3/4 into this process, like, hey, I still don't have Bryce Harper. I still don't have Mike Trout. I still don't have this guy. I still don't have that guy. I've got 8, of this this guy here. And then I realized that they're doing this. I don't know.
They've done it with all their sets though recently.
It's so gimmicky and terrible that so if you actually want Mike Trout, you're going to have to go on eBay and
buy him.
That sucks.
Buy him, whatever. And to me, it took a lot of the fun out of it. If you're going to do the Heritage set, to me, you should have like a chance to get anybody.
And I don't want to burst your bubble even further, but they had done this 1969 set, I don't know, 10 years ago. I think I have, when Rich Hill was on the Cubs even. I have I don't remember when it was, but in the 2000s, they did all these Heritage 1960 designs then as well. It would be really neat if they moved into the 70s. I would definitely dig that, especially, what was it like? Is it 72 Topps or 3, the one where it's real colorful and like it's got like the arch photos, like the photos.
I think you're probably 72.
Yeah.
I think is
but yeah, I agree. And then also one of the things that gets me about these now is there's no whole team. You know what I mean? Like in this Heritage, you're only going to get 8 or 9 guys off your team. That's like your team set from these is never all, 25 players or whatever.
Yeah.
So moving on to what Gabe is about to crack open, we'll give everybody a little sneak peek, and I'll show my 2 inserts that I pulled, and then we'll let Gabe start ripping. This is 2018 Topps. And I'm going to try and hold it to not have there be any glare. It's very Photoshoppy on the bottom.
Yeah. Requisite.
You know, it is like a full bleed photo, which is nice.
The Fleer Ultras.
I was just about to say Fleer Ultra, yeah.
They do remind you of the old Fleer Ultras. That was Clint Frazier's rookie card. The only Cub I was lucky enough to pull was Javier Baez doing a big leaping.
That's a good shot.
Course.
That's a good.
Oh yeah,
photo.
You know, it's a great shot of him. Like I said though, I think the bottoms is getting just a little too. I don't know, like it's almost too distracting.
Yeah, they need to like reel it in, do half of what they did.
And this was a jumbo pack, one of the ones where you get, you know, like 2 packs worth or whatever. That's what I typically buy. And then my 2 inserts, of course, I pulled completely Mr. Irrelevant now. 2 Andrew McCutchen on the Pirate inserts.
Oh.
One is this
cool,
1983 Topps looking card, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Good
But
year.
I couldn't believe that both my inserts were McCutchen. So I'm hoping here, Gabe, you don't get a whole pack of McCutchens. We'll see.
All right, here we go.
There's an error at the plant. 15 McCutchens, 1 pack.
All
Who do you
Pirates.
most want, Gabe? I mean, who's your most wanted card?
Yeah, of modern players.
Maybe
I was
like
gonna
a
say, not
Moncada?
Ron
Would you like to
Karkovic.
pull a Moncada?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if they probably didn't put Jimenez since he hasn't made the White Sox. I mean, he's not on the current roster. Yeah, Moncada would be nice, or you know, do they have Ohtani cards?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe
They do.
him play last-
Okay.
And it says
There you go.
pitcher/DH on it, which is cool.
That would be cool. I can get behind that. You know, I like Hunter Pence. I think he's a fun player. He's probably like my favorite non-White Sox player. So yeah, here we go. All right, so we got Mike Spears. Is that how that's?
Down and to your left.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
Now forward and to your left.
There you go.
Got it. Sorry, I'm doing all
There you
this on
go.
my phone.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Right there. Yep.
Great.
All right.
J.A. Happ.
I don't know that Hap.
Oh yeah, he used to pitch for the Phillies. Yeah. And the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Now he's back.
I think he was traded for Roy Halladay.
Oh, wow. I think you're right now that you say that, yeah.
Daniel Norris. I don't know. Tigers.
Daniel Norris,
Yeah.
pitcher tag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess this kid's going to be pretty good because he was like the main chip in the Kristen Yelich trade. I got a Future Stars here.
Oh, nice.
Lewis Brinson.
Yeah, he could be a stud. Pull it back a little bit to your left.
There you go. Oh, it's got the Future Stars at the top. I see.
Okay, cool.
It's a full card.
I'm with you though, Levi. I'm not crazy about the design though. Otherwise,
So does he have a Marlins jersey on in that?
no, it's a Brewers.
Okay, I was gonna say, man, they pumped that out quick.
He played about 20 games with them last year.
Yeah.
I got a good one coming here. Not this one, but this is Dylan Peters from the Marlins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Here's the insert. Look at this. This is the 1983 style Frank Thomas, baby.
Oh, kick ass! Score,
Nice, buddy. There you
that's
go.
nice,
It's better than Carter right there.
dude.
That's where.
That's sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then this.
You gotta get a sleeve for that, Gabe.
Yeah.
I hope you got a sleeve handy for that one. That's sweet.
And then this. I don't know. These are these highlights cards where it's got this kind of narrative on the back. This is a Jeter highlights card.
Oh God, that's another thing that Topps does now. They just shit hammer you with Derek Jeter cards.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
They're like random Babe Ruth inserts, and it's like, okay, man, I give Babe Ruth is great, but unless it's his rookie card, I don't want it.
It was Mickey Mantle for a while. Remember that?
Yep.
And they would just jam Mickey Mantle into everybody.
Ooh, I got a good one here. I don't know if now this isn't his regular card, but they still do league leaders. So this is Altuve.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Got the league logo in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So batting.
Now,
champ.
see, if that was just the league leaders cards and that was it, I think that would be fine. I think if they worked on like a different logo scheme for the bottoms on them, for the regular cards, to not be so, I don't know. I think it just detracts too much for some reason. It's too gaudy. So is that a sideways? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horizontal card, but this is Daniel Murphy, National League batting average, but on the back it lists him as third place.
I guess you get a card, huh?
What's going on here?
So who finished
from the
Blackman, yeah.
Title.
They're like, no one wants a Blackman card.
Take that, Charlie Blackman.
Yeah, weird. That was kind of nice. Still doing the team card, so this is the Brewers team card.
Nice.
Dugout shot there.
Yeah.
Little narrative on the back. I don't know. Cam Bedrosian. Is that Steve Skid? Steve Skid playing now?
Steve Bedrosian.
What's his name? Cam Bedrosian?
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody could get on the horn and check if that's...
yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm on it.
I can imagine there's too many Bedrosians that go through baseball other than the ones that got to be related to each other, so... I bet it is. And then the last one here, he's on the Cardinals now. I got Marcelo Zuna.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Diving over the wall. Nice, yeah.
Yes, Cam is the son of Steve.
Okay. Figured as much.
There are a lot of second-generation guys right now in baseball. I mean, you got McCullers and, what is it, like Mark Leiter Jr. is on the Phillies.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Fernando, I mean, 2 of the top 5 prospects in baseball right now are juniors.
Yeah.
Vlad Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette. Dante Bichette's kid is like a top 10 right now. So, literally 3 of the top 10 prospects in baseball right now are second-generation guys.
Apparently there's a kid for the A's named Boog Powell, but he is in no way related to Boog Powell.
Crazy.
Yeah, Wallach's kid fought for the Marlins today.
Oh.
Yeah,
Who
I forgot him, but yeah. Tim Wallach.
Oh, really?
His kid is the Marlins catcher.
Did not know that.
Well,
Yeah,
there you have it.
A lot of those guys right now, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Just to make us feel old, man.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. There's probably always been that many, but we're just remember their dads playing when we were young,
Yep.
Like next season, we're gonna have like Marquise Grissom the fourth getting called.
Jose Oquendo the third.
And well, a lot of fun tonight, guys. Really appreciate you dropping by and hanging out with us.
Thank you. I mean, what a blast. I look forward to it every year, so.
Oh, us too.
Always fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Want to remind everybody to check out @Super70 Sports. Ricky, keep up the great work, man. It's the best thing going.
Ricky, I'm not sucking up here. I literally almost had a spit take today over one of your tweets about the Gentle Ben lunchbox. Dude.
Oh, thank you.
Nearly a spit take on my keyboard. Yes.
Well, that's the best right there. It's honesty. Like if I can make somebody laugh like that, then I'm doing something right. So
definitely keep it up.
Thank you.
All is right. Remind everybody to follow Ricky at Super70 Sports. Look forward to the book coming out as well as the talk on April 17th in Chicago. So go to Super70 Sports. Check out his podcast as well, Super70 Sports Podcast. Also want to remind everybody you can follow us on the Instagram and the Twitter at RockNChew. That's rock as in Washington National League, right? That was the reference earlier tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow us on at RockNChew. Like us on Facebook. And also you can check out all of our archived episodes at rockchew.com. Until next time, hope everybody has a great 2018 baseball season. Peace out.
Peace.